Employment and the Labour Ministry has released a fresh set of information. It's actually employment report for the period of April to June 2021. This was released yesterday. It's been a while since the government has given us consolidated information, so it was very important to really see what this report shows. And if you read it in multiple places, it was reported to have been said that the April to June 2021 period actually registered a 29% rise in employment across 9 sectors in our country. 29% rise in employment does sound like a very good figure. But what may have been lost in the fine print, in case you didn't notice, I want to highlight that this is a 29% rise over data from the 2013-2014 period. The base for this survey is 2013-2014 economic census. And then 9 sectors have been identified, from manufacturing to information technology, that actually account for 85% of the country's workforce, these key 9 sectors. And in that, if you see, with employment at 3.08 crore, the employment opportunities grew 29% over 7 years, with the IT and the BPO sector really showing the strongest growth. And then there are other sectors that have been highlighted. Of course, there's been a fall in employment when it comes to the manufacturing sector. And one other key highlight that we spotted was fall in the women participation in employment. That has actually also gone down to 29% versus 31% just in this time period. But I am not really an expert into reading the fine print and then reading between the lines when it comes to economic data. I do have 2 experts who are joining us to help us decode it. So let me say good evening to the 2 panelists who are with me this evening. Amirullah Khan, economist, co-author of States of the Indian Economy Towards a Larger Constituency for Second-Generation Economic Reforms, and Dr. Jagdish Shettigar, Professor of Economics, Birla Institute of Management Technology, also joining us this evening. Thank you to both of you. Let me actually get Mr. Amirullah Khan to first give us his view. Is this a good number, 29% rise? Or is this an alarming number? How would you read it?
Thank you so much, and I'm so delighted that my old colleague, Professor Jagdish Shettigar, is here. But you know, you are absolutely right. You read the data absolutely fine. That if we are looking at a base period that is 7 years old, especially at a time when unemployment was struggling, we see that over the last several years, if the growth rate is 29% overall, then that is not very good news. But what is even more serious is the fact that several of the important sectors that we are looking at are registering either a negative growth rate or they are registering a very tepid growth rate. The other point that this employment survey is making is that there is a organized sector employment growth. Now, you see, what is happening in India is that despite a huge shift towards the organized sector, we still have more than 90% of our employment in the unorganized sector. That is a matter of serious concern, because you see, in the light of the vulnerabilities that we saw affecting labor, especially during the COVID period, if the proportion of those who are in the unorganized sector continues to be as high as 90%, then we are facing a tremendous problem. The final point I want to say is that what I would really like to see is where the educated unemployment data is, because that is what is seriously of a matter of concern. It has never happened that we have had such a high level of educated unemployed in the country, which is what the PLFS data had pointed out a couple of years ago, and then it was stopped. So, you know, and of course the point that is screaming at us out there is that women's participation in the labor force continues to slide down for the last decade or so. That is also not good news. It shows that the sectors that we are looking at are not amenable to employing women, are not considered safe, and are still considered vulnerable. So my broad point would be that a 29-30% increase over the 7 years, especially when we have large number of youth coming out, is just not enough. In fact, what it suggests is that the number of people in the backlog, number of educated people who are not getting jobs, is only constantly increasing. We had the Prime Minister's promise crore jobs a year, and we are not generating even 5% of that. So it's a matter of serious concern, and I think that you read it right.
Okay, so let's try and understand this. Is there an explanation, Dr. Chettigar, as to why the government's chosen 2013, 2014 as the benchmark? Usually we see most economic statistics given to us on a quarterly basis or a yearly basis, quarter on quarter, year on year. Why would this be different?
13-14 might have been taken maybe as a normal year. And it is also, the possible that that was the terminal year of the previous government. Probably the incumbent government wanted to compare the situation with regard to the terminal year of the previous government. That is the one possibility. And when you say the 29% growth over and above the 2013-14, let us not forget that there has been continuous rise in the economic growth, and especially during the 2016-17, when it showed 8.3% growth. And thereafter, of course, there was a deceleration. Though there was a deceleration, the fact is that there has been a continuous growth, whether it is a 7.1 or later 6.7%, and of course a 4.2%. But the fact is that the economy has been continuously growing, except during the pandemic year when there was a negative growth rate. So when you compare with the 2013-14, obviously because of the economic growth, there has been rise in the employment opportunities. Now, at the same time, when they say that during the April-June, about, you said, I think the 29 or the 27% of the units covered indicated that they are retrenched the workers. Now, that is because though, throughout the country, there has been what they call the reward on the manufacturing unit started functioning. The fact is that nowhere, whether it is in Mumbai or any other industrial belt, they are allowed to work three shifts, and not only 3 shifts, even the workforce, as far as I understand, only the 50% of the workforce is allowed because of the social distancing and so that could be the one reason why naturally the people did not want the full workers and pay them. And since they are not required, obviously the workers are the target victims, they might have retrenched. And if you look at the latest position, there may not be any data with regard to the employment, but related indicators. For instance, as on 26th of September, there has been rise by e-way bills. And the e-way bills clearly shows that there has been revival in the economy, though not to the extent of pre-pandemic days that everybody can understand. But still, there has been rise on year-on-year basis, 19.5% increase in the e-way bill. And even if you take the cargo traffic also grown by 20% as on September, which means that there has been a clear sign of a revival of the economy. Though we are not gone back to the pre-pandemic days, it will take time because, and here, especially during the last 1 or 1.5 years, one major factor affecting both at consumer side as well as the manufacturer side, is the human factor or the human psychology. And we can come out of that only when there is a satisfactory progress in terms of the vaccination. At that time, probably psychologically will come out and the people will move to the market freely. And at the same time, even the workplace also, probably social distancing norms will be, the people will go in the full stream. So it will take maybe at least another 6 months or maybe 9 months to come back to the normalcy. Okay. But all the indicators show that the revival trend is there.
No, that's fine. Dr. Shettigar, on the overall economic front and where it is, where we are right now, perhaps a year later, we'll also have a clearer picture of it. There are various indicators like you pointed out that do show a turnaround. What I am though tonight trying to understand is this set of information, and why I feel it is important to put it in perspective also is because the government had actually junked this survey for the past 3 years, and the government had given a series of reasons as to how they believe it was not actually capturing the reality, and they had to figure out a better way of capturing the reality in terms of sectors which are important, sectors which are actually contributing to the growth and to jobs creation, and this is what they have come out with. On those lines, Mr. Amirullah Khan, do you believe that this relatively is at least a better set of parameters that they have picked up to show us the ground reality?
Certainly the 9 sectors that have been chosen are pretty representative. And you will find that we have some good news in the IT and BPO sector where we see a certain and a definite increase in employment. What is worrisome, and that is the problem, what is worrisome is that there is this unexplained base year of 2013-14 when the economy was doing really poorly. So actually we are using a base year where there was high unemployment. And on top of a base year that is a poor year, on that if we only have 29% over 7 years, that is a cause for worry. The second is that the government lost a lot of credibility when it junked an approved PLFS report. You know what the National Statistical Commission had approved for release, just because the news was not good enough, the government junked it and then discontinued the whole idea of quarterly surveys. That's what caused a great deal of credibility loss. The third point is that in this period, 2013 to 2021, there are several roadblocks, there are several speed breakers that one would like to see and analyze as to how they affected unemployment. The first was demonetization. Demonetization certainly resulted in a huge loss of unorganized sector jobs. Then came GST, which again led to a huge impact on the small scale sector that could not deal with the GST implementation. And the third was, of course, COVID. So you see, the point is that if we are going to use data that is 8 years old and have no reason to use that, then the credibility suffers. And
let me ask you one question in response to that. And there is no way of knowing. But does this leave ground for people to then ask the question, were things worse off in the past few years since the current government actually came to power? The fact that they've chosen, like you said, a time which was a downtime of the economy and things were worse. We were constantly talking about policy paralysis and slowdown in the economy and whatnot. The fact that that's still being chosen as a comparative year. Is there something else which should possibly be a lot more concerning about 2016, 17, or even 18 and 19 possibly?
Absolutely, well said. When we divide it annually, then we might see a trend line where you find sudden jerks happening in 2016 and 2018. And that is corroborated by all other surveys that we have seen. If you look at the entire data that has come out of CMIE, it shows how pernicious an impact demonetization had on unemployment and GST had on unemployment. So that is what is going to get revealed when one breaks this data up, and I hope that the government gives us the broken down data to look at, because there are several unanswered questions there, and not revealing that data has led to a great deal of confusion and a great deal of loss of credibility. The one point that I want to also make is that this data, which shows that unemployment has only risen 29%, so you see it would have risen very little over this long period of time. What it shows is that the entire Make in India program has refused to allow the manufacturing sector to increase its share in GDP. That's I think the biggest concern that comes out of this. And if you look at these sectors, you will find that manufacturing continues to suffer. It is really the financial services and the IT BPO services where you have some employment and some jobs coming out. So therefore, the question that begs an answer is why don't we have this data disaggregated? Why are we looking at a poor base year? And very importantly, to Professor Jagdish Shettigar's contention, the fact of the matter is that economic growth rate has been declining steadily since 2016. You see, in the last 20 quarters, every quarter the growth rate has been declining, and today we are at its lowest.
Yeah.
And what happens in declining growth rate, and this is the last point I want to get in here, is that with declining growth rate, there is a sharp correlation with unemployment. Every time the GDP growth rate goes down by 1%, employment goes down by 0.5%. So it stands to reason that with slower growth rate, there will be higher unemployment.
Okay, let's not forget, like, I'm adding to this, to what you said, that even before the pandemic hit us, we were at a very, in a very tricky situation, in a very difficult situation. And
highest unemployment ever.
Yes.
It was the highest unemployment ever in December 2019.
With a contentious report that came out. Yes, but that was the situation. And to me, that's a challenge. But the government, Dr. Shettigar, also sees it very differently. The government's response often on the problem of unemployment is to say, well, it's not our responsibility. We are not the primary job creators. We can be job enablers, and we can come up with schemes like production-linked incentives to push people to create more jobs. Now, is that something that you see working in the manufacturing sector, especially since that seems to be one of the big concerns right now?
No, since 1991, when we introduced the big-ticket economic reforms, so our approach is that the government is a facilitator of the economic development, and no more it plays a proactive role. And we have seen the impact of that, whether you look at whichever the way you look at, the standard of living or the type of the income people have been earning over the years. Now, when you say that as compared to 2013-14, you can see that the impact of the growth. I agree that since 2016-17, there has been a slowdown in the growth. And ultimately, during the pandemic year, that is during 2021, there has been negative growth of 9.3%. Now, I don't agree when you say that some people point out that the demonetization, because the demonetization took place in the November 2016. And no doubt, immediately during the first quarter following that, there has been some negative impact on the economy. But thereafter, there was a revival. In fact, during that particular year, there has been a growth rate of more than 8.3%. So we cannot blame demonetization. And there are others, the data also. And as a result of the demonetization, the money which used to be, flowing in the black market, that has come into the banking system. Now, today, the banks are flush with a fund. In fact, they have got the problem how to distribute the credit, because those who are taking the credit, they don't require the credit support from the banking support. We are the flush with the fund. So don't you think that it will be, the positive impact on the economy? And slowly we will be moving towards what we call the Western society, where the growth, interest rate is around the 1 to 2%. It may take some years, but slowly the interest rate will fall. And as regards the junking of this survey, it is unfair to say that the government has junked. Why should the government junk, any government for that matter, whether it is incumbent government or any other government, why should they junk this survey or for that matter, data collecting or machinery?
No,
Because
Dr. Chettikar, I think you got that wrong. What I was saying was that the surveys that used to come out were put on hold by the government for 3 years ago, when the government said we'll come up with a better metrics to judge the employment status, which is what they've done now. So,
that is exactly what I wanted to point out.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Our data system was not up to the mark. Niti Aayog was involved in the revamping of the data collection system. So that is why during a couple of years, they stopped bringing out the data. Otherwise, data or the survey, this will be guiding any government of the day, because when they have to take a policy decision, it is on the basis of the data.
I am 100% with you on that, Dr. Chettikar. I always say that if you don't have data, how are you deciding your policies? It's extremely essential for us to know the ground reality, for us to design our government policies. Completely agree. But thank you both for joining me and, helping me decode this report that has come. And of course, we'll keep looking for more and more updates as and when they come from the government. Thank you for joining me right now on this conversation. So there you've heard it from our experts as well, viewers. Fact of the matter is that this report actually benchmarks the status from 2013-2014. And then takes that as the base year and then tells us that since then, in 7 years, there's been a growth of 29% as far as employment is concerned. It's also looking at 9 key sectors which contribute about 85% of the employment in our country, including IT, hospitality, of course, manufacturing as one of the key ones. What we need to understand is, one, why was this chosen as a benchmark? And clearly, too, is this enough? From my conversations here tonight, it shows this kind of employment movement upwards isn't enough to the number of people who are seeking jobs out there and good quality jobs out there. That conversation, of course, on jobs, the jobs challenge that we are facing continues. Thank you for joining us.